very heartwarming, emotional story of survival and fame during Nazi Germany. Eddie Vitch was a Jewish stage performer for the elite of the Third Reich. Joining us live is the film producer and the niece. Please welcome Yafa Martiz. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What a beautiful story. I mean, like, first of all, like, why did we never hear of him before? Like, you never hear about, you know, stories of actors or performers that, you know, were praised by the Nazi regime.
Right. I don't know, it's interesting. I know that he was pretty, I mean, you know, he was performing through the war in pantomime in front of the Nazi troops, both in Paris, in Austria, in Germany, even in Sweden. But before that, he was also a caricature. He made caricatures in the United States. That was in 1930 to 1934. In a place called Brown Derby. It's a very famous restaurant, and he's known for that because everybody in the United States and in many kind of like...
There's a lot of restaurants, cool restaurants, that they have the characters of people's faces.
It started there. It started there, and he was the one animator there, and many kind of like sitcoms like I Love Lucy were taking places there. So he was known there. Everybody, I mean, even
and then he got kicked out.
But then in yes, it was like the refugee problem that we have now. So he was without a visa.
So he gets sent back to Europe and ends up being there during the war.
In 1934, after Hitler already just became, you know, chancellor or whatever.
Wow.
So he went back to Paris, and then he was like, basically, the question is, was he hiding in plain sight or was he protected by the Nazis? But he performed throughout the war, the whole time, with his kind of like, my last name is Lefkovich. The name of the movie is Vitch, but he changed the name to Vitch only when he was in the United States and he wanted to be an actor. When he went back to Europe, it still was Lefkovich, which is such a Jewish name. And with this kind of...
Look, I mean, he's obviously Jewish. I don't think anyone, I mean...
But obviously, and it's amazing because we have his travel certificate when he was able to go back and forth, all this kind of permit. And it kind of has a Nazi kind of stamp and his name Lefkovich. It's kind of, to me, it's fascinating.
Wow, it's very, no, to me it's fascinating. Let's look at a clip. It's very fascinating.
He had nightmares every night. It was just a matter of time. We like you here, we like you there, but tomorrow, who knows?
Do you tell people, oh, he performed for the Nazis? Do you feel embarrassed about that?
You know, they thought they knew everything. They thought they could smell a Jew.
We were appreciated. The artist was appreciated in Germany.
He was so visible that he was almost invisible.
That's his signature.
So, yeah, what if you were able to discover on this journey? I mean, did they just like his work that much? They just kind of gave him immunity from the fate of everyone else?
It's really hard to know. In a movie, it leaves more questions than answers, which is kind of maybe the power of the movie, because it's very clear. I mean, according to dates, the high authority in the jail, like Goebbels, came and saw his performance when he was performing in Paris and laughed and liked it. We have records of that. Could it be that they said this will be, because he's also a pantomime and he was not acting, he was just doing all kind of scenes. Maybe it was kind of safe, they couldn't detect any accent and anything. So they just said, you have to come to Berlin. And he went to La Scala in Berlin and he was performing in Austria, Berlin, anywhere.
I mean, how was he able to, like, emotionally and spiritually, like, live with himself? Like, I imagine this really was, you know, not easy for him personally.
Right. So I thought about it a lot because one of the things that a lot of the family, I mean, he has kids, and I am very close to my newfound cousins. But some of his family, like the family in Israel, is very, very disappointed the fact that he never kind of really looked for them. And I think that partly, the question is, what happened inside of him? What was his internal world like, performing in front of the Nazis, knowing that everything is happening around him? And my conclusion, it's my personal thing, I was thinking a lot about it, that he was kind of like, first of all, that he loved to perform, and that was his chance. He went to Hollywood, not to do caricatures.
He wanted to be Charlie Chaplin.
Right, exactly. That's what he wanted to do. And then he actually had one little role in Hollywood. He already was playing in Blue Angels with Marlene Dietrich when he was kicked out. So he started already doing something. So he wanted to perform, but because he was a performer, I think that he kind of split off his other side, the Jewish side, the father side, whatever it was. He kind of like really couldn't really bring the two pieces of him together, two parts of him together.
There's no question that he went through, I'm sure, his own struggle.
He didn't look for anybody. He didn't look for my father or anybody.
You didn't even know that he survived?
I didn't know. My father, and just always used to say, if anybody survived the war, it will be Eddie Vitch, because he's a survivor. You know, my father was 14 years, they were 8 in the family. And my father was one of the youngest one, and Eddie was the oldest one, and he left the village in Poland at the age of 17. So my father was only 3 when he left. But he used to come and visit, and my father used to say that they used to roll the red carpet for him when he came to the village because he made it big. So he said he had connections. He must have survived. So my father constantly wanted to look for him. And I remember days and evenings when my father used to listen. You know, in Israel, they used to kind of like go around looking for your relatives and kind of they'll give them list and list and list. My father used to say maybe he will look for me. But he never did, actually. Even though his children say that he had his name in the Red Cross and stuff like that. But he never actually, I don't know if he looked for us.
Wow.
But my father did look for him and couldn't find much about him.
And then
yeah,
he's alive.
And now
wow.
the internet, because we knew that, my father said that he changed his name from Ignas Levkovich to Eddie Vitch. So we started to, when the internet kind of popped up, we put the name Eddie Vitch, and all of a sudden there was some information about him, about some movies that he did in 1956 in England, which I remember me and my husband looking at it and saying, 1956, what does it really mean? So he didn't die? Where is he if he survived? But slowly we started to find out. So this is how it all started.
What a beautiful journey, indeed. Well, thank you so much.